Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us again. This is a take two of this free online masterclass called The Golden Path. My name is Myra Medhurst, the founder of the Golden Path Experience, and I specialize in the evolution of human consciousness. And this evening, I'm joined by a very special guest, my husband, Ben Medhurst.
Thanks, hon. Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Thanks, Ben. Thank you so much. Thank you, those who are joining us in the Zoom room. If we've got any first-time viewers, please say hi. Let us know where you're watching this from. We always love welcoming new faces, new people into our community. And that way we know that the teachings and masterclasses have also reached you. If you've watched us quite a bit, please say hi again. That way we know that the teaching too has also reached you. And if you're watching the replay, you can hashtag replay. That way I can circle back around and we know that this information has got to you as well. And we love welcoming you into the community, the private Facebook group, the Golden Path Experience. So, a bit of a backstory. We were running this masterclass last week, on the Wednesday evening at this time slot, and we got some surprising news. Ben is a full body channel and he'll tell us about that process really soon. But we were in smack bang in the zenith moment in the middle of the Syrian gateway, and we're quite familiar with the energies that you channel, Ben. I mean, I am. And so we kind of had some hints and some flavors as to where this energy might be from, or particular frequencies. And so we were delivered some news live on Zoom last week, and it was just a little bit, we had tech gremlins come out in the Syrian gateway. And so we disconnected 3 times. And so we just thought we'd do the whole masterclass again.
Hopefully it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't happen again. And that way it just comes across as a succinct masterclass for the community. So thank you again for joining us. Truly appreciate you taking the time out of your busy lives to be here with us. And so this evening we're going to cover a fair bit of content. If you want to pause this class, if you're watching the replay, and go and get a pen and paper, strongly recommend that. And we've got a series of questions that I'll be asking Ben this evening. But Ben, did you want to talk about to the community, I guess, introduce yourself, what it is that you do, and how the process of channeling came into your life?
Yeah, thanks, hon. Well, first of all, I feel very honored and privileged to be invited to share with everyone in this moment. As Myra mentioned, I've been having the experience of channeling in my body for, what did we work out the other day? It was about 17 years, yeah. It's something that I feel has been with me my entire life, yet it came to vocal manifestation at that time. So I guess a brief history of how this particular experience came about for me. Since being very young, I've been aware of the interconnectedness of, everything. When I was a young child, I used to sit in nature a lot and just kind of, I guess, dissolve into nature. And I felt very at peace in nature. I was lucky enough to have a beautiful bush property growing up, and often would just sit away from my family out in the bush, sit on a log on a river and just let go. And this was not really a conscious process. It was just something I did. I felt very at ease. And in those moments, I think my senses were really allowed to do what human innate wisdom knows. In other words, to become, at one with the inner and outer worlds. So that kept developing. I kept having those kind of experiences up until a point, I guess, where I think a lot of people, kids, and even channels spoken about this, the groups of 7-year periods in human life where you kind of, start a new life. And as often is the case, a lot of kids are kind of, through societal conditioning or whatever it may be, tend to step out of that complete open phase and get more linear, get more earthly, I guess, and for better or for worse, often those faculties of being open can get shut down. And I was very lucky that wasn't the case for me. There was various reasons, all really fantastic things that I had supporting me in my life at that time. So I kind of managed to get through, 5, 6, 7, 8 years of age without having that part of me shut down. And then going on to the next kind of 7, when you become a young man, and you hit puberty and you start to, again, have these societal expectations where you begin to perhaps look into the material world and not much else. I had a very traditional kind of upbringing, as much as you can imagine. And going through that change from being, a boy to a teenager and then a young adult, I actually found that, like I'm sure a lot of people in this situation do, found it very, very challenging because my senses were so open. All of my senses were open and my extra sensory perceptions were open. So being bombarded with, another layer of that at that age, I found very, very challenging.
And to give you an example, like Ben grew up in Melbourne, and so in the Melbourne city, or Melbourne suburbs, are all the tram lines. And so when your senses and your faculties are just so open, you can see energy everywhere. You can feel it, you can sense it. And Ben shared this story with me of before the tram would arrive to the tram stop, he could see the electrical currents beginning to run through the tram lines way before the tram would arrive. Like that's kind of the sensory.
Yeah, it was like I could see that spike of electricity.
Yeah, like the spike of electricity and that current arriving before the tram would arrive. So just to paint a picture, like that's kind of the level we're talking at.
Yeah, definitely through just having those natural, which, I believe everyone has, faculties open. A lot of people have sort of said to me, oh, that sounds wonderful. I wish I could do that. And again, people in I guess, similar circumstances often say, well, are you sure you would really want that? Because it's not always easy. So cut forward a few years. I had been lucky to have some other sort of extended family support. An uncle and an auntie of mine, both individually and separately from both sides of the family, one from my mother's side and one from my father's side, introduced me to yoga in a very sort of traditional way. And this is back in the late 1980s, early 1990s when I began practicing. And I was given sort of a holistic approach to that. So not just, physical postures, but breath work, meditation, and really learning about self-awareness. And I felt that was my lifeline. That was what was the thing that would keep me sane when society wasn't acknowledging all of the things that I was experiencing, and I wasn't sharing it with a lot of people. It was an internalized experience a lot of the time because I didn't feel comfortable talking about the perceptions. So that practice really enabled me to begin to embrace what was happening. And so, you know, there were moments in my life I tried to push it away, but as is the case, as many of you would have experienced, the more you push it down, the more it comes and kicks your butt. And if you don't listen, the butt kicking gets bigger.
It gets bigger and more frequent.
And I've experienced that for sure.
I think we all have. Yeah.
So moving to the point where it became a conscious reality, this process, which I'll share shortly, it was through the practice of, I guess, meditating, in particular, surrendering to what was going on in a particular period of my life, a lot of change and a lot of emotional upheaval. And when I was meditating, I just completely let go, and I just put this intention to the universe that I'm just handing everything over. And I don't mean I'm giving up. I mean, I'm trusting the universe to hold me. And so I just, with an open heart, within the, you know, pain of human stuff that we all have, I just really just put a really huge breath of letting go and handing that responsibility of, you know, of surrender over to the universe. And spontaneously in that moment, energy entered the top of my head, slowly ran over my body, and it was just pure love, bliss, but with it, a very clear consciousness and awareness. And it's hard to describe because it, in a way, felt like me, kind of, I guess, and it was verbal internally, but I knew it wasn't then, it wasn't this life, it wasn't me having an internal dialogue, it was something much, much more expansive speaking to this body. And it just said, we are here, you know who we are, and we're here to, I guess, answer your questions and to guide and to support you through this undertaking that you've chosen to do. And so that was the first time that they spoke to me kind of directly internally. And at the time I was doing music creation. And so I had some microphone gear and a laptop set up, and they told me just to go and sit there, and that they would speak through my voice to me personally to kind of, I guess, coach me through that period. And
yeah, I'd say like the first encounters or experiences were very much for you. Like
definitely
your own personal training,
yeah,
your self-inquiry. And I must say, because I know this story well, one thing I just wanted to highlight is Ben had such a sincere wish. And I call this moment in my teachings the cosmic call. This is when you're reduced because you've tried everything, and you're reduced in, I don't want to use the word a desperate attempt, but it's just like you've exhausted all other channels, all other avenues, all other teachers, all other books. And it's like still you intimately want to know yourself, and you want to know how the universe works. And I know they were some of your key questions. You wanted to know who you were, what's this game about, this game life about, and you wanted to know the keys to the universe.
Definitely.
And that sincere wish directly to God, to the universe, was like, this was the point you were at. And you'd already been struck by, like, you'd been experienced of death of a family member. There was just so much going on in your life at that time.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you're right. It's kind of like, you're talking about exhausting all options. For me, it was really like, I've given my best. I've done what I think is absolutely everything. And again, as people have probably experienced in their own lives, the universe has a system and a way, and it's got our backs. And I think that when we reach that point, and it can happen over and over, you've given everything. And when you've given everything, but not giving up, you're just saying, I'm done. I've given everything. You then have, just in that moment, and it may only last a short moment, but hopefully that moment grows. But in that moment, how can I put it? It's like you have the authority in that moment to ask the universe what you want, and the universe has to respond. Because that sincerity, that giving everything you've got until you're just completely gone, that's the dropping of the veil. That's your ego dissolving in that moment. That's the point at which you're creating that space for your soul, your spirit, to meet you in this body, in your conscious awareness. And I had that experience, and I've been lucky to have experienced it a few times. And I think in Channel, they'll probably touch on what that means, in a broader spectrum. So yeah, I'm happy to can get into that.
Yeah. So for any new students who are joining us or seeing this training for the first time, we're in a group called the Golden Path Experience. And so tonight we're asking a series of questions to get a deeper understanding as to what is the Golden Path and why this term has come to both Ben and I. And I guess my take on it is that it is very much paving the way, building the bridge, building the gateway that takes us from this current reality into the Satya Yuga, which is known as the Golden Age. And so people may be using this term quite a lot, ushering in of the Golden Age, new Earth frequencies. They're all talking about the same thing, which in yogic philosophy is called the Satya Yuga, which is the age of truth and integrity. I also see it as the crown, where we're sovereign, and the golden ray is what is expanding and opening up in our crowns. And that is actually what comes down and descends as the guiding light, which lights up the next step, the next pathway for us to take. And so that's how I embody the golden path. But we'll go in and ask Ben's channeling the Syrian collective of what they have to say more about these subjects. So as Ben just spends a moment centering himself and allowing and surrendering some more, now's a really good opportunity. If you haven't already, you can grab pen and paper, and I just invite you to also just really plant your feet into the ground if you're sitting up, or if you're laying down, that's even more luxurious. So lay down, just relax through the hips, open and unlock at the knees and the ankles. And so when we go into the experience of channeling, it's a multi-dimensional experience. And so they can answer questions in this now moment, but also for anyone that's watching in the future or watching a replay, they can even begin to speak to those people as well. So it's a beautiful experience. And I also encourage you just to feel into your heart. And if you can just soften and quieten the mind a little bit more, dropping the shoulders. And so in the experience, you also have an opportunity to feel the beautiful healing frequencies and the transmission of this energy. And that's also part of the teaching as well, is the experiential. Over to you.
We are here, dear ones, and we thank you for this opportunity. We thank you for this opportunity to be here with you in this way. We are here to share our perspective, to connect, and to, as has been said, transmit energy through a conscious connection. And so we are delighted and honored to be having this experience now and in the future for those watching. In truth, there is only now. So we do invite questions. And while this body is letting go a little more, some may be curious, as these two bodies have been since the beginning. Who are we? And why do we refer to ourselves as we? And perhaps just a little bit about this process for those who are witnessing in this body for the first time. As this body mentioned, it was in the instance of utter surrender that the space was presented for us to connect with this body in this way. And we do so through many bodies that have done the same. We are intimately connected to that which you would call your reality. And although our reality is slightly different vibrationally, there is a connection. And we will do specific channelings on that as time permits. But for now, we wanted to connect with you in this way and give the opportunity for you to surrender yourself, for all individuals have this capacity to open to more. And in truth, dear ones, the we that we refer to, we see as simply more of you. You can feel this when you surrender. Surrender to that which you know you are. And who are you, dear ones? Well, we would say you are divine incarnations of universal love. Creators of realities, and much, much more. To the point. You're here to answer.
Lovely. So this next part may kind of run for 30 minutes or 45 minutes. And so the first question is, what is the golden path? You can speak to that.
Well, if we may be lighthearted for a moment,
please.
We realize your affection for labels. Humanity, rightly so, putting words to that which is in some ways indescribable. But gold is a good way to begin. And the path refers to, as you said, stepping forth into the golden being that you are. We would say the golden path is soul linearized. That is to say, your soul and its heart's intention for this life linearized.
That's so incredible because we've spoken about this topic a lot and they have never given us that phrase before. That's so succinct and so beautiful. The soul linearized.
Indeed. For you as bodies, as people, as individual sparks of divine consciousness manifest in this dualistic realm, have birth, life, passing away, joy, sorrow, masculine, feminine, all the polarities. And this is the journey the human takes when soul manifests into a body. So the golden path, in other words, perhaps your soul's purpose, the things it wishes to perhaps focus on in an individual life, having the width and breadth of all of the other experiences in this reality and others that it has most definitely traveled. Becomes what it has set out to be. This is walking the golden path. This is journeying the golden path. These potentials, these perhaps soul goals, are not set in stone. They are potentials.
That's so important to remember.
And therefore, there is no right or wrong way to travel. Yet the golden part comes when the alignment occurs.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the difference that I personally feel as I just keep coming back to this word alignment. When there's alignment, for me, it feels golden. But again, there's no right or wrong. You can never not be doing this journey right. And excuse me for keep looking down. I'm looking down at my phone because that's where I have the questions written out. Question number 2, how to personally perceive it. So how do we personally perceive the golden path? This is a good question.
Indeed, a very practical one. and one we'd very much like to share our perspectives on now and in the future. So a little framework to begin with for having a framework of understanding to place multidimensional understandings is beneficial. So,
and they don't teach this at school. I wish they did.
It has been taught in schools in the past.
Correct. It certainly was.
In this planet.
Past civilizations here on this planet, that is true. It was. I remember those days.
So, perception. This body's experience is an example that many may resonate with on the path to aligning with the soul. However, we acknowledge it is something that he is not fully integrated with, but the conscious awareness, the intention, and the experience have been begun, has begun. And the perception of alignment with your soul's essence, in other words, aligning with your golden path, begins with this awareness. In other words, when the individual begins to use its senses for that internal direction, as opposed to the senses being allowed to run in any direction the subconscious mind asks. So this, let us say, instinctive behavior that has served in different ages is being expanded into higher frequencies. There is much science behind this, and to awaken to these new realities where consciousness of subtler realities becomes clearer and clearer, one needs to be diligent, needs to consciously choose to work with the internal world and begin to refine that perception. For the want can be there, but without a guidance system, the path is very difficult to find. So we would say the perception is your guidance system. Your senses are your guidance system. And there is an innate wisdom within your personal structures, within your physical body, your mental body, and all of the other subtler bodies. And this system that you have created as a divine incarnation of oneness simply needs to be allowed to do what it is designed for. And so we would say that the perception comes beginning to perceive your golden path, beginning to feel what it is like, bit by bit, or maybe large chunk by large chunk, depending on where you are,
where you're
in
at.
any moment.
Quantum leap by quantum leap. Yeah.
We would say there is an equation.
Oh, yeah, I believe you.
And to put it simply, the more one chooses consciously to surrender to who they truly are, the faster in linear time this awakening occurs. However, a word of caution: everything that is no longer serving you will be churned and rise to the top, to be discarded.
I believe you there also. This is true. And, you know, this is the where you have to really self-manage yourself. You have to, I guess, understand the alchemical processes, all the processes of purification, the processes of refinement. And I have to share this story, but my dad is a metallurgist, and so he is an engineer that studies metals and the processes of refining metals. So for an example, you mine out an iron ore, but there's only a small percentage that is a pure iron metal. And so they call that ultra pure, how to get a metal ultra pure. And they run it through these processes of purification. And I kid you not, the chemical processes are so aligned with the ascension process.
Indeed.
Because once you desire something to be ultra pure, that very desire is the catalyst to begin drawing the impurities and the toxicities to the surface. And so you have to know that your vessel, your body, is now undertaking this process. And so you do have to go gently and nurture yourself and know, rather than judge yourself that these things are surfacing, just witness them. They're part of the process. It's part of the ascension, evolution of the human body and of our consciousness and of our planet.
We would like to say hello.
I've been talking too much.
No, indeed. We are talking of those who have joined.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Hello, everyone.
We feel your presence. We are glad you're here. So we are sharing our perspective on golden path things.
So the next question
Indeed
is how to align to it now. So we've just finished discussing how we perceive it. So how do we align?
Indeed. The alignment process with your golden path is an individual one. And as we have said with the perception, it is also an internal process. So the external manifestations of a being that is in alignment with its golden path are all the wonderful things: expansion, abundance, ticking off the soul's goals, so to speak. Yet the driving force is an internal process, dear ones. We would like to highlight this, for the manifestations are purely a reflection or a byproduct of that internal work. We would perhaps change the word work to acceptance of who you truly are. This takes effort This is what we mean by work. Much of which, dear ones, is about letting go of perhaps conditioning, perhaps a sense of identification that you are what you think. You are what you think. And what do you think of yourself, dear ones? In other words, the mind has such potency, and it is a creative force beyond imagination at this moment in time. There are many that have used the energy of their mind successfully, and there are many that have allowed their mind to, in a way, take over their reality. This has been called ego state, identification with the physical, mental, emotional states only, without an awareness or an acknowledgement of the larger part that you truly are, divine being. And so alignment with this larger part is an internal process. And we use words such as allowing and surrender, but these are not non-action or giving up kinds of surrender and allowance. They are more an attunement, consciously connecting with the larger you takes a certain amount of surrendering the smaller you. And there is effort required, for layers upon layers of densities have accumulated in this reality to manifest your individual self. And there is no right or wrong in this process. It is part of the linearity process of humanity. And it also has to do with global consciousness and the time period you exist in. And in this transition, expanding into more of who you are individually and globally, this process is happening. So, how to allow alignment? And why is it that a seemingly non-active act, such as allowance or surrender, aligns you with your soul's purpose? We would say the conscious intention to connect with your soul's purpose, and indeed with more of yourself, with more multidimensional, expansive parts of yourself, that conscious choice has everything to do with it. So consciously choosing to connect is the first step. And herein lies the trick, the balancing act, so to speak, for your dualistic reality takes you from one extreme to the other, sometimes in milliseconds. And this is where practices can support, clarify the body, clear the mind, and allow the connection of your soul into manifested reality through this vessel that you have been given as a gift to yourself to explore this universe. So, a clear intention and then a surrender into that intention. That is a basic understanding.
I interviewed Isha Patel just a couple of days ago, and we were speaking about this space of allowance, and we from time to time were calling it the feminine, the yin principle. And in this space of allowing and surrendering, it can be a highly productive zone to be in, because once that alignment drops in, it's done so much of the heavy lifting for you. And it's so counterintuitive to think that frequency, that dropping into allowance and surrender, can actually be the very, very step that you need to take. Yeah, I love this dynamic. I play around with this a lot and try and unpack it and visualize it and kind of play it out in different ways of that moment of surrender can actually be a very, very productive state for you to be in. Interesting topic. I love that piece. So the next question is integration of the golden path, and how does this occur?
Indeed.
I mean, we could take that at various different levels. We could talk about the cellular structure, the DNA, but I guess let's just keep it simple. Simple and succinct for this evening.
Indeed. So we would say that integration of this alignment is the sequential, the step-by-step coming together for, as you know, this linear reality where the soul is embodied in a linear path. Likewise, the integration of soul and body, or spirit and golden path and life manifest, can come and go, can feel sometimes like it is so far away, and in other moments all that is.
You can taste it. I can like smell when I'm close.
Indeed. So the integrative phase is fueled by practicing alignment, being conscious, for they build upon each other. When moving through expanding consciousness as a human being, although there are steps, the previous step is not left behind. It builds, it harmonizes with the next step. The harmonizing of this building the song of your life in alignment with your golden path is the we are showing this body an image right now, so he is in awe and wonder. We are showing him an image of frequency as geometric form, as light, and in this, which many call codes, patterns of divinity, etc. These are the building blocks of all realities, the universal principles of divine creation. And indeed, this occurs when integration is with you. The harmonizing effect is each step coming into alignment with each other. So when one frequency is mastered to some degree, in this analogy, we're using the term perception, it vibrates in every part of you. So the amount of volume of that frequency and its pitch match when integration happens. So we just reference things such as vibration, harmony, geometric symmetry. For these are all principles of alignment with your golden path. And however you perceive these, the system, the amazing, wonderful, showing this body more images. So bear with him.
Ben and I have spoken from time to time about trying to find a 3D model animation contact or network, because Ben gets shown so much imagery and it's moving life. We'd love to represent some of the imagery for you so you can watch it as a movie. That's one of our goals and our dreams, to share that with humanity.
Indeed. For this moment in time, we would say that the integration process is the harmonizing of choosing to align, surrendering to that to be revealed. There is much more, but for now we would like to move on.
Yes. So the unification of the golden path in all areas of our life. It's kind of like what you were saying just before. Like I see it as jigsaw pieces slotting all into place to make the overall coherent story and the complete puzzle.
Indeed. Unification with the golden path or your golden path could be likened to words such as enlightenment, soul activation, awakening, these kinds of things. And yes, there are levels at which this occur, and it is a different process, as unique as there are different individuals incarnate. So there is definitely no need to compare externally, dear ones. We would like to make this very clear. For unification with your golden path should be individual. The very fact that it is a path is a reference to you living this life and embracing more of yourself, first through your awareness, then putting in some effort, then surrendering, and doing that over and over until it becomes an integrated part of who you are. Unification is the outcome, the byproduct, the ascension. And each individual that chooses to consciously work in this way not only helps themselves, but again, as a byproduct, by default, supports the ushering in, so to speak, of this age of truth that has been spoken.
I just want to highlight that piece because it's so incredibly important when these awakening souls, and I guess the women and clients that we work with are like, what's my divine service? Like, what's my mission? How do I give back and serve humanity? And the very first step is aligning and walking your individual golden path, because as a byproduct of that, you're strengthening the grid work, you're strengthening the light that holds the energetic gateway into that golden age. And so therefore you cannot not be serving humanity.
Indeed. We would also mention on this point, dear ones, that when you do this inner work, so to speak, by letting go of the identification of you being limited and practicing that which you know expands your consciousness, these answers become self-evident as well. There is a vast bank of soul goals, so to speak, and you have focused some of them into this linear life. And so what they are, to answer this question, what is an individual's soul path? What is their purpose? And so many are asking this. It is for you to discover within yourself. And we do not say this lightly. We do not say this to sweep it under the rug. For indeed, you know, dear ones, you know what is right for you. And there is a vast bank of potential that will bring that fulfillment on a soul level. And the effort, again, this, when it is spoken, sounds a little anomalous or strange, but this effort is the effort to surrender while holding the conscious intention. Reflect on what this means for you. Take that which resonates with you, and in all experiences, leave that which does not feel right for you. Do not allow that which does not resonate with you hold you back. This is another practice which this body is working with and can save much of your linear time. Indeed.
Yeah, I'd say Ben and I, in our personal development and spiritual development journeys, we have been very blessed with incredible teachers and facilitators and masters, and they've always frequently told Ben and I separately to, please take on board what is in resonance with you, but don't never be afraid to push to the side or leave what is not right for you, even from the most revered teachers. it doesn't matter. Always just take what is in resonance with you, and you can just push aside a part of the teaching that just doesn't fit for you. So that's incredibly important as well.
Take the best and leave the rest.
Yeah, take the best and leave the rest.
Indeed.
That's what we were taught. Okay, so what do we do about the course corrections? This is a biggie at the moment. There are so many souls, beautiful souls, awakening around the planet that are new to these teachings. Like they've might be going through dark night of the soul. They won't even know what the golden path is.
We would say they are new to remembering.
Are new to remembering. Thank you. So how do we go about recognizing that misalignment and then correcting where necessary?
Indeed.
I've got some good practical tools with this one as well.
Yes, this can be a large topic, and there are many methodologies, and we would encourage this idea of taking which resonates and leaving that which doesn't behind. Yet often the simplest things can be the most profound. So without complicating it, dear ones, intend that which you know to be for your soul's highest good. Intend to connect with that which you know. Your faculties are your guidance system. Many in this re-emerging, reawakening phase of humanity are getting in more alignment with that which has been called intuition. This is perhaps what we are referring to in the stage of what we have just spoken, the perception stage. In other words, beginning to reawaken your multidimensional sensory world and abilities allows you to know when you are off course, so to speak. And it begins perhaps at the dense end of the spectrum sometimes. And if you are in a slightly more aligned state, it may be from a more subtle prompting. And everything in between. In other words, you may feel ill physically, and this can be attributed to perhaps two things. One may be that your soul has been speaking to you as it always does, and you have not listened. And on this dense physical level, the alignment is off and the body goes out of balance. Yet it can also be during the surrender process when, as we have mentioned, the impurities float to the surface to be shed. But it matters not which of these two is occurring, for the remedy is the same. Consciously intend, ask what it is that you want, do what is required, and listen. Surrender and listen. Listen with all of your being, dear ones, for the answers to this question, how to course correct, and the answers to many other of your wildest imagination, questions that you will find much joy in having answered, are being constantly broadcast. And so tune into them. There are many tried and true methods that have been used throughout humanity's multiple incarnations as a global consciousness. Many of them are still kept, and we would recommend going to the root source of these. In other words, find what works for you in its purest sense. When you explore all of the modalities, the more you work internally, you will realize, dear ones, that in essence, they're all the same. They are given in different flavors to suit individual journeys, but the answers are out there as well as inside. So if you're having trouble finding them inside, you can find them outside. In other words, read a great book on general health, holistic well-being, take care of the physical body, purify your mind, and then allow consciously the connection. So we will boil it down to this in this moment. Take care of your physicality. Do not judge yourself when this does not occur.
Yeah, I have a lot to say there.
And constantly remind yourself, I am a divine being, an embodiment of love. Not as a mental exercise, as a knowing, for that is who you truly are, who all truly are, dear ones. We're happy to talk on this more and more. For now, we are complete.
You feel complete. Thank you so much, Ben. I'll just give Ben a moment to become more of Ben. They never leave. They always kind of joke with us that they're always here, they're always available. And
because there's no sign off.
There's no sign off. That's right. There's no full stop for them. But something I wanted to speak about is personally what I do is I begin to actually just saturate the system. And what I mean by that is I begin to have a very stern conversation or strengthening the relationship that I have with my cellular structure, that I have with my DNA, because I know within the cellular structure and the DNA is so many portals that open up multi-dimensional faculties. And so this might sound very basic, but I just imagine myself over and over and over again, just aligning to my golden path. And so whether I say that as a mantra, whether I just visualize myself walking a golden path. So these are just like the little things that I consciously do over and over and over again, day or night. There's no special way to do this. It's just something I've developed myself. And so if that feels kind of playful and fun for you, then please, I encourage you to do it. And I say phrases like, everything I touch turns to gold. Yeah, I'm always in the right place at the right time. Because to me, that's what cultivates and that's what fosters and strengthens alignment with divinity. And as a byproduct, I must always be on my golden path. So it sounds a little bit cheesy, but I completely just saturate my thoughts, the way I behave, the way I hold my posture, the way that I speak. I just keep aligning it always to following my golden path. So that's just another little trick on a very kind of basic level. So thank you, Ben. Yeah.
Thanks for the opportunity. I don't always put myself out there with this kind of thing, and I really appreciate Myra's support and encouragement. So thanks.
My pleasure. Yeah. My pleasure. It's beautiful to have you here sharing more of your gifts with the community, and yeah, thank you. Thanks for being here. So I just wanted to let members of our community know that Ben and I are running a retreat in Vanuatu. It's on the 6th to the 13th of October this year. And so Ben's channeled guidance will be there, a part of the workshop sessions. Ben is also a very talented crystal healer. We're both advanced pranic healers, and Ben has a Vogel crystal wand, which is just a lovely tool that he uses in the healings. So this is all on offer. It's a transformational 7-day, 7-night experience. Ben and I are the facilitators, and we're co-facilitating with another very experienced woman who resides in Vanuatu. And so if any of the people watching this or watching the replay, if you'd like to have more information about that retreat, please just reach out and make contact with us. I'm more than happy to send you information about that retreat. So it is happening in early October this year. We have our own private chef who makes beautiful, nutritious, organic food for us. And we have villas that are all waterfront, beachfront, overlooking the Pacific Ocean. So it's a pure week in paradise. And we're doing all of this work, deep healing, Sudarshan Kriya breath work, channeled activations and healing experiences. And we also get out into the local community and have a few cultural activities, seeing incredible waterfalls in Vanuatu, where I'll be facilitating a beautiful water blessing ceremony for the women. So this is a women-only retreat. So if any of that interests you, just reach out, make contact. We'd love to have you there. We've got a few spots left, and yeah, we'd absolutely love to support your ascension journey, ushering in that golden age.
Yeah, really looking forward to that. I think, you know, it's great to have a bit of a space to channel, you know, for however long it's been tonight. But obviously, given that extended period of time, you can really get into stuff.
Oh, yeah. Like you can go so much deeper than an online masterclass, and it's the collective, it's this sisterhood, it's the proximity to us. One of the key pieces is removing yourself from your normal day-to-day environment. Environment is such a big key to really staying aligned and focused on your golden path. And sometimes you do need to remove yourself out of your normal day-to-day life and go into a completely different environment to kind of kickstart the system. And once you're up and running, you'll be beautifully supported there. So yeah, we're really looking forward to it as well. So if anyone has any questions, we've got one question. How can we stay? Yeah. That's a great question. It's coming from the Zoom room. And the question is, how do we stay in alignment through life's challenges? Because we often get thrown a lot. So I feel like we answered that a little bit, but did you want to speak to that as Ben, or you can go back into channel?
Yeah, definitely something that channel's always shown me internally is that as sometimes hard as it is to surrender into, sometimes we create a reality full stop, and B, the challenges are what expand us. And, you know, that can be as something as simple as just stubbing your toe or as profound as the most challenging thing you can imagine. So I really continually want to bring awareness to that in my own life. So every time a challenge, and I just preface this by saying I find it really difficult. I don't have mastery over that, although the conscious awareness does allow me to change the way I respond. And I think a little tip that might be helpful is I've programmed myself with that sincere, I call it a spiritual wish. In other words, it's an intention that I set out to the universe very clearly. And the intention was, dear universe, I wish to be reminded in every moment, in every experience, of who I truly am, of who all truly are. And I want to be reminded, regardless of the situation. And, you know, the universe kind of responded internally by saying, you got me. They felt the sincerity with which I asked that, because if the universe can answer all my questions, that is one I would like. I would like to be reminded in every moment. And so simply by putting this intention out there and repeating it, it happens. And so when things are tough and I might be really wobbly, or I might have even fallen over completely, I still get that reminder. And so nothing is ever too difficult to overcome. Because when I surrender into who I truly am and remember who all truly are, and for me, that's just love, that begins to melt the challenge and creates an opportunity to overcome it and learn a lot in the process.
One thing I've personally adopted is a teaching from Dr. John Demartini, and that is in the magical, blissful moments of when life's going great, not to inflate yourself, like not to get elated, because again, they're just external experiences. And the reverse is true. So when life throws you challenges, or you're experiencing hardships or loss or grief, you don't know, you just kind of lost the shine out of life, to not get deflated in those moments either, because we live in the dualistic nature, each must occur. So there are seasons, there are highs and lows, there are hot and cold, there's night and day. But Dr. John Demartini, he kind of took it the extra step further. And so it's in the unification of those two. So most people at the high moments of life, they'll get elated and they'll think that things are great. And yes, they are, but also know that the reverse is the same at those challenges and those low moments of life, not to get defeated, not to get deflated, because it's actually when we harmonize these two and we actually bring them into equilibrium and into balance, those two polarities become unified, and therefore we actually know oneness. Yeah, is this starting to make sense? And so in that oneness, we will actually know divine love, because divine love is a synthesis of those two polarities. It's a really great teaching. It's something that I did learn in my early 20s, but also I've adopted that as well. And I remind myself of that as well. So I hope that helps. I hope that helps. All right. Thank you so much, viewers that were live in the Facebook group, in Zoom, and those watching the replay. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. We truly appreciate your presence, your divine light, and your beauty. Thank you to Ben, our special guest, for joining us and sharing his channeling abilities and gifts. And for all of you, please remember to follow your golden path. There's so much free content here in the Facebook group. So if you are new to the group, all you need to do is head to the guides section. It's in the top menu of the Facebook group. And in the guides section, you'll see all of the interviews and the masterclasses, online trainings that we've run in the past. You can go there. There is ample of high quality information in this group, and there's enough to completely begin to transform your life and heal and ascend and be supported on that awakening process. If you're interested in Vanuatu retreat, the 6th to the 13th of October, please reach out. We'd absolutely love to host you and hold you over there through these incredible processes, which will support your evolution and soul expansion. And that's all from us. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a beautiful evening, and we look forward to seeing you again on the internet. Bye.